Hello everyone and welcome to our Masterclass. Today we'll discuss Ahola's recommended best practices for balancing your payroll. As always, everyone is muted for today's session, but please enter your questions into the Q&A window at any time. I'll address them after my presentation. This webinar is being recorded and will be available from our website, ahola.com/webinars, early next week. At the end of this webinar, you'll have the ability to provide your feedback via a short evaluation form. And this afternoon, I'll be sending out a quiz so that you can test your knowledge. But more importantly, it also helps solidify the information that we share today. So let's take a look at what we'll discuss during today's webinar. We'll discuss a built-in tool available for totaling your earnings. And we'll also discuss in detail the reports that we recommend you preview to ensure an accurate payroll. We'll do this for a year-end payroll, complete with year-end bonuses and fringe benefits. So as you are waiting for the masterclass to begin, I asked you to go to menti.com to respond to the question, do you balance your payroll before submitting it? So we've got some results on screen. We've got a few people who responded, and pleasingly, we have 100% of you responding in the way that we at Ahola would prefer you to respond, and that's a yes. So those of you that responded do balance your payroll before submitting it, which is great news. What we're going to do today is share some of the practices, the best practices that we recommend here at Ahola. So let's assume that we have payroll entered. Okay. So we have regular hours, we have overtime and vacation hours, just as we might for a regular payroll. Now we've also got some, there we go. We've also got some fringe benefits in here. So let's just move that, there you go. What might PUCC refer to? So if you were in the last masterclass, this should be familiar to you. Let's go ahead and enter it into chat. We'll take the first correct answer and then move on. So again, what is PUCC? Personal use of a company car. Thank you, Shauna. Absolutely right there. So as well as the personal use of a company car, we also have year-end bonuses entered into this payroll. Of course, we can't see them from this screen because this company decided that while it would enter the bonuses as part of a regular payroll, it would process them as additional checks. So if we select additional check entry grid from the navigation menu, and then filter for the bonus template and the year-end bonus additional check, and apply those selections, then we can see that we do indeed have bonus checks entered for employees. Another way we could have seen these, of course, is through the individual time entry screens for individual employees. So with our payroll entered, we're now ready to balance it for accuracy. And one of the tools that we have available to you in iSolved is called the time entry total screen. So if you think of the time entry grid or this additional check entry grid, it's kind of spreadsheet-like in look and feel, but it does not have a row for totals. But we can determine those totals using this time entry totals screen. So we're focusing on the area beneath the navy blue bar, and in particular on the area beneath the first light blue bar, the input hours and dollars. So here we have all earnings for which we've physically entered data. This corresponds with what we previously saw in the time entry grid, but now we have totals for each of those earnings. So the idea here is that we already have those totals, perhaps on a spreadsheet that we've created, and we want to compare these totals to the totals that we've got displayed on the screen. So for example, if I have my totals that I've calculated for regular earnings this pay, and it actually amounts to 888 hours. I can enter that amount into the control total field and then click outside in this empty area here. And we can see that the iSolve systems totals are short by 16 hours. Now, if I click the system total for this earning, the 872 here, I can see all employees that contributed to the total, as well as how many hours they contributed. And by comparing these numbers to my own internal totals, I can see that I forgot to include 2 extra days. This pay for a particular employee, Stephen Duckworth, number 39 there. He worked 2 extra days this pay period. He should have 48 hours this pay period instead of the 32. So now I can go back to the time entry grid to make that correction. So we'll go back. And we'll find Stephen Duckworth. We'll see that he's got the 32 there. Now I can make the change there, put the 48 in there. And now if I go back to the time entry totals, we'll see that the system total is matching my internal total of 888, and everything looks accurate there. So comparing the other earnings for which I entered the data, I can confirm that overtime and vacation are both accurate. But PUCC, the personal use of a company car, that just doesn't look right. So my totals tell me that the taxable fringe benefits should be $850, not $4,000. So let's see what I did wrong there. Again, we can click the system total. And then I can see that Geraint's amount should be $350, not $3,500. So again, we can fix this in the time entry grid. And there's Geraint's PUCC of 3,500. It should be 350. So we'll make sure I type it in accurately this time. And now once again, I can go back to the time entry totals, and the PUCC input hours or input dollars is accurate now, matching my internal totals of $850. Okay. So now that we're back to the time entry total screen, notice that even though we entered the year-end bonus as a separate check, the total is still here on the time entry total. So we have the bonus earning, and we've got the total right there. So the next section on this screen, auto pay hours and dollars. This refers to your salaried employees. Again, you can verify that all salaried employees have been paid by clicking that system hours or system total hours. And I've got 4 salaried employees. They've all been paid for the total hours in the pay period. Now the combined total for regular hours, this sums the regular hours system totals for both hourly and salaried employees. And this is a number that we'll refer to a little later. So if you have the total number of checks that should be generated for this pay, you can compare it to the system total there. And you can even break that number down by scrolling down in the screen and determining the number of additional checks. Oh, that one should be blank there. Okay, so we've got the total number of additional checks that should be generated. Now notice that we have a drop-down menu at the top of the screen. By default, this will show all payroll entries within your organization. But if you wanted to, you could display totals for individual departments if you wish. And you can select the relevant department there. So that's the time entry totals screen. Another tool that we recommend you use to balance your payroll for accuracy is the preview of your reports. Now, to access your report previews, you would navigate to either the process payroll screen or the close pay period screen, depending on whether you have our integrated time and attendance solution, iTime. Now, the company we're currently working with does not have a closed pay period screen, and this indicates that we do not have iTime, so we've navigated to the process payroll screen. So let's use your phones or the alternative tab in your browser. Once again, go back to menti.com. I've got a new, let's see, I'm going to put up a new slide here with a new question. Let's go back here. And that I'd like you to enter. So again, the code is going to be 6524357. And we'll put up the new question. Let's get that. So the question is, what should you do first in that process payroll screen or the closed pay period screen if it's relevant to you? What should you do first in that screen? And the options there you have, should you click the preview payroll button? Should you verify that the information under the next payroll run schedule is accurate? Or should you click the process payroll button? So we've got a number of people there selecting the preview payroll button. We'll give it a few more seconds to see if anybody else wants to put their opinion forward. So again, looks like we were pretty stable there clicking the preview payroll button. So thank you for participating there. What we would actually recommend, if we go back then to the iSolve screen, what we would actually recommend you do as the first thing you do when you come to these screens is verify that the information under the next payroll run schedule is accurate. So we want to verify that the payroll run type is a regular payroll, unless, of course, you've asked your processor, your dedicated payroll processor, to set up a special run for those year-end bonuses. Other than that, we want this to be a regular payroll run type. And then we want to confirm that the pay date and the period begin and end dates are accurate. Now, if you see any discrepancies here, you will need to call your payroll processor to make those changes. You'll notice those fields are all grayed out. We're not able to make the changes from this screen, but your payroll processor can take care of that for you. So after we verify the payroll run type is a regular payroll, and we confirm that the pay date and period begin and end dates are accurate, then we recommend that you click the preview payroll button. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And this will take all of the data from the time entry grid, as well as the employee profiles, and it runs it all locally on your system, bringing up this box that we just saw up here called the last preview results. And this box includes all of your payroll reports to preview in that drop-down menu. So there are a lot of reports here, and you may see some slight variation in the reports appear in that drop-down based on the way that your company is set up. So while we would encourage you to preview any reports that you use for your business needs, we certainly don't expect you to look at each and every one of these reports. We do, however, recommend that you preview 3 particular reports. So let's use the chat window, and I'd like you to name one of those reports that you think that we recommend. So we'll just take a couple of seconds for everybody just to type into the chat window just one of the reports you think that we recommend you preview prior to balancing your payroll. So we've got the payroll register. Everybody's putting in the payroll register there yet. That's a great response. Does anybody have another suggestion for another one of the reports that we may recommend? Payroll summary, okay. So the new employee change audit report. Okay, great job. Payroll summary is the other one coming up there as well. So it's a great job, and thank you there for participating, everybody. So the three reports that we recommend you preview, and by the way, nobody is wrong in the responses there. Those are all great reports to preview. But the 3 reports that we recommend you preview are the exceptions preview, the new employee and change audit. So you were right there, Chris, and yeah, Chris, you were right there. Thank you for that. And the payroll register preview. So again, that's the exceptions preview, the new employee and change audit, and the payroll register preview. Now we're going to take a look at all 3, beginning with the exceptions preview. So we'll select the report from the drop-down menu, click go, and then it's going to open up as a PDF document in our browser. Now, the exceptions preview could show us a variety of different types of information. Let's make this a little bigger. So for example, it could show missing tax IDs for a city in which your company works, and we've got that example there on screen. It could show cities in which your employees live that we may not yet have entered into your iSolved account for tax withholding purposes. It could show duplicate social security number or bank account numbers. It could show a variance between the amount of social security and Medicare taxes calculated and the amount actually withheld. So as I said, it could show a variety of different types of information. And what I like people to take away from this report is that if you see anything that you don't understand, please call your dedicated payroll processor before you process or submit the payroll. She or he will explain what the exceptions mean, and if necessary, they'll help you fix it before you process that payroll. It is especially important to preview the exceptions report if you're processing fringe benefits at the end of the year. The preview will let you know if there's anything amiss with the setup of your fringe benefits. So if you do have any questions about this report, please enter them into the Q&A window, and then I'll address them at the end of the presentation. So the next report that we recommend you preview was the new employee and change audit. So once again, it'll open as a PDF in our document. And this preview allows us to determine the changes we made to employee information were accurate changes made to the correct employee. So for example, in the report that we have on screen, we see changes made to Bill McLaren's employment category and pay type information in the employee update section. Specifically, Bill was changed from full-time to part-time and from a salaried employee to an hourly employee. Further, we can determine who made the change. In this case, it's user demo Chris. And we can see when that change was made. So if there's ever any question as to when or why changes were made, this report will point you in the right direction. Now you can also verify that your new hires were added for this payroll, as well as any changes to deductions, pay rates, and direct deposit information. And then just as with the exceptions preview, we recommend you preview this new employee and change audit every time you balance your payroll, not just at year end when processing those bonuses or fringe benefits. And then the third and final report that we recommend you preview, and everybody got this one, is the payroll register. So this is a report that clearly is familiar to many of you, but we do want to make sure that you're making the most of it when you're balancing your payroll for accuracy. Okay, so the preview, the payroll register preview, provides a snapshot of everyone's paycheck. So notice that it displays the additional check first when you have those bonuses. We have the year-end bonus there for Sasha, followed by the her regular check. So we can verify the year-end bonus amounts as well as the hours entered for the regular check. What we want to do is to look for any glaring mistakes. So for example, we want to make sure that all relevant employees have received the year amount bonus in the correct amount. Then we also want to make sure that we haven't miskeyed anything, perhaps entering 8 or 80 in place, 8 or 800 in place of 80 hours for full-time employees. And we saw that with the PUCC earlier, where I entered 3,500 instead of 350. So we want to make sure that any corrections we made after looking at the time entry total screen have truly taken effect. And if we find, we'll scroll down until we find Stephen's information here. Stephen was initially paid 32 hours for his regular check, if you recall, but he had actually worked 48. So we went back and changed that. Now we have the 48 hours in there for Stephen's regular check. So, and then we want to make sure as we scroll down, we'll come to the owners of this company, Glyn and Tom. They're at the top of your screen. We want to make sure that only the relevant people received the year-end bonus, and we want to confirm that the owners did not receive that bonus, and we see only the regular check there for Glyn and for Tom. So again, we're just scrolling through everybody's paycheck here, just making sure everything's correct. And we're going to move down, for the interest of time, we're going to move down towards the end of the report. And there you go. And here we find a particular error. Terry Wiltshire, the last employee here, he only has a regular check. He should have a year-end bonus check. So now we can go back to the additional time entry grid, additional check entry grid, and enter his bonus there. So we'll go back to iSolved, back to the additional check entry grid. And if we look for, once again, filter for the relevant type of check, the bonus template, the year-end bonus additional check, and then apply those selections. When we scroll down to find, I'm going to just present them alphabetically, and we find Terry towards the bottom of the screen here. And in this additional check entry grid, we see that his total dollars are 0. He does not have his year-end bonus entered. So I clearly skipped over him and missed his information. So we'll enter that year-end bonus for Terry. And then we can go back to the process payroll screen. Now, because we've made a change to the overall payroll information, when we come back to this process payroll screen, we need to click the preview payroll button once again. And this will refresh the data, and then we can pull up the report in which we found the mistake, in this case, the payroll register. We want to make sure that that change we just made actually took effect. So we'll pull that up quickly. And then when it comes up, and we'll scroll down right to the end of that report, of this preview. Let's make this a little bigger. We'll find Terry's information coming up there. And now we see that Terry has his year-end bonus in the correct amount. So the next page of the payroll register preview displays company-wide totals, as well as some other information. So for example, beneath the company total header on the left-hand side, we can verify the total number of employees that were paid with this payroll. We can further confirm that we have the correct number of paper or live checks, as well as the correct number of direct deposit vouchers. At the top center, we have the total net pay, everyone's wages and salaries combined. Now in the bottom left corner, we have all earnings with any kind of year-to-date information. Now we are particularly concerned with the first two columns, the hours and dollars columns, which correspond to the current payroll. So we recommend that you identify all earnings that take an hourly input, such as regular, overtime, vacation, etc., and verify that each of those totals are correct. So remember that the total for regular hours includes your salaried employees as well as your hourly employees. And this number should correspond to the combined total regular hours that we saw in the time entry total screen earlier. So then we recommend you identify the earnings that take a dollar input and confirm that those totals are correct as well. So if you have any, in this case, it would be the year-end bonus. And then if you have any third-party payments, wait a minute yet. Yeah, we want to verify the fringe benefits as well, that PUCC. And then if you do have any deductions, we want to balance the deductions as well in the center column here. And this requires a slightly different method. So what we recommend you do in order to balance these deductions is to go back to iSolved and then go to the reporting section and the payroll report archive. We want you then to pull up the payroll register from the previous payroll that was processed. So make sure it's on the previous payroll, pull up the register in the bottom left corner, and then just click View Report. That will open up the payroll register for that last payroll as a PDF in your browser. And then we want to scroll down towards the end of the report to that company total page. And then we want to just compare the total in this deductions column with the total that we are previewing for the current payroll. And then we want to take into account and balance it against any changes that we made in the current pay period. So for example, if there was a $20 difference, we need to ask ourselves, did an employee's deductions go up by $20 this pay period? So we're back in the preview here, and then the final page of this report informs you of any third-party totals that are deducted or garnished from your employees' paychecks. Now, there is a fourth report that you could look at, and some of you did mention this report. We'll go back to the process payroll screen and pull up the drop-down menu there. Some of you did mention the payroll summary, and this will allow you to determine how much money will be withdrawn from the company bank account for this payroll. So I'll pull that up quickly. The payroll summary displays this information on its first page. So there is a payroll funding section on the first page of the payroll summary. We'll see it there at the top of the report. We want to look for the total ACH debit amount, and this is the amount that will be withdrawn from the company bank account the day before, or on the impound date, which is the day before check date. And then the total payroll funding, that number there right in the bottom right corner, this is the amount that ultimately needs to be in your company bank account to satisfy all payroll obligations, including paper checks being cashed for this payroll. So we'll go back to the process payroll screen, and once we've verified that our payroll is accurate, then we can click the process payroll button. So what I'd like to do just to finish up is just to discuss why we think and why we put so much importance on the process of balancing your payroll for accuracy. So what I'd like you to do, just in the chat window, I'd like you to enter your thoughts as to why it's so important to balance your payroll for accuracy. Why do you think it's important to balance your payroll before processing it? And again, we'll just put that into the chat window. Just take a minute or so to do that. And as people that might be typing in there, so Sarah says catch errors before processing to eliminate a redo. That's perfect summary there. To pay your employees correctly, yeah, absolutely right there, Chris. So some great responses there. And then just kind of in sum, just summarizing both of those responses and any others. So Shauna says don't have to reprocess, absolutely. So if you catch your mistakes before you process or submit your payroll to us, it costs no money or no additional money, and just the relatively small amount of time it takes to check your work and correct your mistakes, just as we did during this masterclass. If you realize your mistakes after you've processed your payroll, but we've not yet sent the file to the bank, we can reverse the process, but it's going to cost you. And then you'll see that charge on your next payroll. So even then, you have to wait for us to do that, which means as well as costing you extra money, it's also costing you time. And then if we've already sent the file to the bank, this escalates the complexity of the resolution, and it increases both the time and the money you spend on this payroll. And Thomas has added in there in the chat to ensure that the payroll is correct and will not need to adjust in a subsequent payroll. Absolutely there. So it's saving time and money for your company. So it may seem like time wasted when you're going through our recommended best practices for balancing the payroll, but we want you to enter and process a perfect payroll every time. And the only way to do that is by making the time up front to balance your payroll. So I'd like to just take a look to see if there's any questions in the Q&A window. If you have any questions right now is a great time to answer those. I don't have any in there just yet, but again, feel free to type any in there. we're on the questions there. And as we are coming to the end of the masterclass, it is 12:30. So if you do think of any questions after the masterclass, please feel free to send them into training@ahola.com. I'll do my best to answer them. And if I don't know the answer, then I will certainly find somebody who does know that answer and get back to everybody. Just quickly then to wrap up, our next masterclass, Sarah, I'll answer your question very shortly. Our next masterclass is in 2 weeks on November the 12th, and we're going to address third-party sick pay. As usual, that's at 12 noon Eastern. And again, as we end the masterclass and log off the Zoom meeting, please take the time just up to 20 or 30 seconds to complete the evaluation. It's a very short evaluation, just 4 seconds. I'm sorry, 4 questions. And then go ahead and watch for the quiz this afternoon. It'll be later this afternoon that I send that out. And then, as usual, if you get 75% or more, I will send you a certificate of achievement. The recording of this masterclass will be available from the website on screen early next week. So just to finish up then, Sarah asks, do you have to have a payroll processor set up to use the additional check entry grid? So great question, Sarah. The answer there is no. It is available to you as a client. What you may need to do is to create a different template. If you saw my template there for that additional check entry grid, it only had the earning of a bonus in there. So I set that template up. We have a previous masterclass on the website on screen there, ahola.com/webinars. It's advanced payroll for all iSolve users. That will take you through that process of setting up a new template there. Similarly, if you are looking to create a new check, we saw that I had a year-end bonus check. Actually, that one would have to be set up by your processor. And what that does there, that year-end bonus check that I selected, that determined all of the parameters of that check. How is it going to be paid? Was it direct deposit or live check? Are we going to take retirement and other deductions or just some of those, and so on and so forth? Is it going to be an additional check and things like that? So yes, you can use that additional check entry grid, but for some of those features, you may need to call your payroll processor and just discuss with them. So I'll take one last look at the Q&A section to see. So there are no questions right now. With that, I'd like to thank everybody for joining us today. Oh, looks like one just came in. So if you had one set up last year, would we be able to use it again this year? Absolutely. Once we create those for the bonus check, yeah, absolutely, Shauna. Once we create those, they do live in your system for you to pull up when you need them. Yep. So again, please send in any additional questions to training@ahola.com. Thank you everybody for joining us today, and I hope to talk with you again in a couple of weeks. Enjoy the rest of the day. Bye-bye.